think it will.
While we are waiting, feel free to add yourselves to the meeting document.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I was running a little bit late. If you can please add your names to the meeting notes and add any agenda items you have that you wish to discuss, we can get started shortly. Okay, so this first issue, someone want to speak to the issue and how it's affecting them? And
Yeah, so I can go over the first issue, which is basically unable to relabel the job and instance labels. So the issue is that the job and instance labels, when we try to relabel them using the relabel config or the metric relabel config, they don't work because once it's relabeled and it is sent by the Prometheus scraper to the OTel collector, so to send it, it basically tries to look for the targets with the relabeled labels, and it fails to find the jobs and instances with the same labels. So it's the OTel, it's the way that the OTel collector is implemented itself, because it's implemented to look up the targets based off of the labels that's coming from the metrics. So this issue affects federation as well, because when we try to use the federation with Honor label set to true, the job label from the source targets are honored, and when they are passed over to OTel collector, it tries to look up the targets with the same labels and it fails to find it, and the metrics are failed to be scraped and sent back to the destination. So this is the first issue, and I've created an issue for this, and it doesn't seem to be an easy fix, because it needs to fundamentally change the way that OTel collector looks up the destination. So I'd just like to hear about what your thoughts are.
yeah, and this is an issue that I was discussing with Mustafan yesterday. We were talking about some of the testing that he and Purge are preparing. And I think we came to basically the same conclusion that you did, that for some reason the collector is expecting that the job instance labels exist in a map that it has, that it's built off of the configuration. Where we left that was that we don't have a solid understanding of why it has that expectation, and that's something that I need to dig into. I was planning to look at today. I don't know if anybody else on the call has an understanding of why that expectation is there, or why it's implemented that way. I'm going to guess probably not, but this is something that I'm going to be looking into today or tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to find a way forward. Ideally, we can just remove that check because it isn't actually doing anything valuable, but we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And I think the next issue is also from me. So the go.sum file has some older versions of the dependencies, which are, I think, coming from Prometheus 2. So when we have enabled, so we have taken dependency on the OTel collector, and we have built our own customized collector on top of it, and then so when we enable the dependabot alerts on top of the repository, so it flags some of the older versions in the go.sum file for many of the dependencies, for many of the vulnerabilities that we have. And so is there any thoughts about like cleaning up the go.sum file, because many of the versions are old and may not be used at all. They're just there as checksum. So I just wanted to know if there's like any plans to like clean up the go.sums periodically, and also take newer versions of the dependencies every so often.
So we do apply dependabot PRs to update our direct dependencies as they're made. So if there are transitive dependencies that are out of date and have vulnerabilities, they'll most likely depend on our direct dependencies than making an update. So like if Prometheus had a dependency on something and we depend on Prometheus, then we would need Prometheus to update that dependency. We are also in the collector using the Go 117 mod format, which includes all of the transitive dependencies that are actually used by a module in go.mod. So I don't know if it's possible to have dependabot look at that instead of looking at go.sum, which may include checksums, as you mentioned, for modules that are not actually used by that module.
I see. Yeah, I will dig a little bit more on this on mine too. But okay, so you're saying that you just include that in Go.more, and then your dependable alerts are not flagging any of these vulnerabilities. Is that what it is?
So we apply all of the changes that Dependabot tells us we should change. We would do that in what I think is generally a reasonable time frame. I don't know that there are any vulnerabilities explicitly that have been identified for us by Dependabot. I'd have to go and take a look at it again. But
Okay, okay, sounds good. Thank you.
But Anthony, I think I see all these currently flagged. But I'm not a security owner for your repo, so I cannot see it in your repo. But if I create a new repo and then fork the code and enable Dependabot, I clearly see they are being flagged.
flagged where and in what manner?
In Dependabot alerts, you will see this repository has vulnerabilities, and then it will tell you the list of vulnerabilities. But you have to be an admin or a security owner to actually see those.
Could you perhaps share a screen and show us what you were seeing?
Yes, I can show you. Second. Yes. Okay. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Yep, we can.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So this is one of the vulnerabilities that we see about the Mongo driver that we are using an older version of this specific module. And then it's 1.5.1. And then when I go and look at the go.sum for this one, it says that it has like a bunch of older versions. Let me just pull that up. Go.sum, and then just look at.
Okay, yeah, I'm not seeing that in the security tab of collector contrib, I think, or collector. So this may be an issue that would be good to bring up in the next hour at the collector SIG to see if one of the admins of those repositories can enable the Dependabot alerts, security alerts, or if there's something in addition to what we're currently doing with Dependabot that we need to enable.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
Yep, yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and then Grace, you have a question about the Prometheus UI?
Yeah, this is just a tiny question and probably more just for Brian, but I was wondering if anyone, maybe Richie, you know, who like the main contact for the Prometheus UI would be, that I could discuss some of the upstream changes so that we could easily reuse it more.
Yep. Julius or Augustine, I also put the maintainers MD into the meeting notes. You have email addresses and such in there as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, does anybody else have any other issues that we should discuss or?
Yeah, I have one question. I see we have moved to OTLP 0.10. So is there any plans that we are going to actually move the staleness representation to the protocol representation now that we are on 10?
Yeah, so I think that now that the collector is using V10, that is a change that we can make and should be made soon. I don't know if there's already an issue existing for it or not. If there isn't, I will create one, and we could get that change. It should be fairly straightforward. We just need to coordinate it between the receiver and the two exporters, the Prometheus exporter and the Actually, the Prometheus exporter might not even need it, but the remote write exporter, I believe, will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think with that, we can all take a bit of our time back this morning. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you guys next week or in the next hour, depending.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.